Reverend Dr. Michael McMorrow, coming to you live from the sanctuary of at the Center for Spiritual Living here in Granada Hills, California. We're located in the North San Fernando Valley. We're a faith community that welcomes all who practice their beliefs in faith and love. Tonight I'm joined with one of our practitioners here, Ms. Ginny Fox, and got Renzen on the board, and Sam the man holding down the center. So, and then whomever finds their way to us. And so if you're local, I hope you'll come in and join us sometime locally if you can. But we're delighted to have you here with us this evening. So let's start by taking a deep conscious breath and feel the exhale. And on the exhale, just allow ourselves to surrender to this eternal now moment. As we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. And fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So as Ginny lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and of course, within our own hearts. And as Ginny lights the healing candle, maybe we can remember Reverend Dr. Maureen and her birthday today, the big 80. And anyone else whom you wish to place into the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God. I surrender
Good evening to everybody here and online. I invite you to just relax, roll your shoulders, take a deep breath and let it out. Kind of just relax from the day, knowing that there is only one all-loving and all-knowing eternal spirit. And this spirit is compassionate and has no beginning or ending. I know that there is one infinite reality. The oneness is what we all came from, and it is where we will return when we draw our last breath. I know that we all are connected to this spirit. This power is the light that shines through all of us as us. We are united with the God in each other, and our soul is immortal and forever expanding. I realize that we are here tonight to go deep into meditation. When we are still and silent, Spirit speaks to us. I believe that we are guided through this life as we commune with our higher spirit. We know that we are all spirits having a human experience, and that our soul is forever expanding to different levels of acceptance and love. I am thankful for Dr. Reverend Mike and our center for being a source of peaceful guidance and love. I am thankful that I have a place to turn to at any time that I am in need of support. And now I release my word to the law that knows exactly what to do and always says yes. I let go and let God, as together we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Good evening. When I first looked at this theme for the month, I was baffled. Teresa said she was too. And I really didn't know quite what it meant. That's how we've never done it, okay? I guessed what it was saying is that this signifies a new way of being or a new way of thinking. So then I searched my memory for a time when my whole way of thinking changed. And then I remembered St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up. For me, St. Patrick's Day is bittersweet. 59 years ago, I lost my best friend. She was accidentally shot by her brother on March 16th and passed on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1967. That was a Friday that year. And as you can see, this still affects me, and even now, as I remember it, it brings a tear to my eye. I guess it's because it was the first time that I experienced the death of someone close to me. She was in 9th grade, and I was in 10th grade, so young. Anyway, this death actually changed my life. Last week, March 10th, we had a meeting where we discussed death and dying. Here at the center, we had that meeting, and we talked about how death was viewed in the Western world. We also talked about how death can actually be a rebirth. So I knew Sue very well, and I knew by the standards of my religion at the time, I was Catholic, that there was no way Sue could go to heaven, because according to the rules, she had mortal sin on her soul. And it was at that moment I started to look at life and death differently. I decided that it was time to change my beliefs around death. I never thought that there was any other way to think. I just followed. But at that moment, I decided for myself that there was no hell, there was no devil, and there was no evil. There was just separation. I could not possibly think of this beautiful child, my best friend, going through any more pain than she had already gone through. Right then, right there, my thinking changed. I knew that a loving, forgiving God would find a way to bring this child to heaven, to some kind of eternal rest. And I knew that somehow Sue's soul would continue to expand. From that moment on, I started searching for a spiritual solution that would more align with my new way of thinking. And I remembered also another thing that propelled me was I had a teacher that said, drew a diagram on the board and said, science goes this way and religion goes that way. And I realized, no, they have to help each other. They have to support each other. So I'm grateful for those various sparks that led me to the Center of Spiritual Living. I am now thinking just because I thought one way doesn't mean that I can't change the way I'm thinking and living to a higher vibration that is more in line with my soul's desire. I encourage you to find a moment in your life when your thinking changed, when you wanted something more, a different way of thinking, because the one thing that we can be certain of is change. I end with a quote. Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come? Rumi. Thank you. Okay, we have some announcements. We have two practitioners here for if you need a tune-up, 2-minute tune-up. The annual membership meeting is this Sunday, March 17th, after the service, and we're going to have a potluck to follow. The Easter egg hunt for the children is March 31st after second service. Contact Reverend Nicole for more information. Powering Your Decision is a new class with Reverend Dr. Mike beginning April 2nd. Contact Melissa for registration. Children's beginning drums and beginning guitar, theater, and Tai Chi and meditation are ongoing and open. This Saturday is going to be our last class of this 4-unit class, and then we'll have 2 weeks off, and then we'll start again. If you would like to sponsor a child, please contact Reverend Nicole or Melissa.
And that sponsorship would be how much to sponsor a child?
I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, so I would.
It's like, I really don't want to say because I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw a number out there. How about $100? If you want to sponsor
Yeah,
a child,
that would be, yes.
right?
And the first class
and the
is free.
center will match
too.
that anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yes.
yeah.
That's right, yeah. So, thank you.
Okay. And can I ask you to toss me that pillow over there? It's
pillow,
down on the, or bring it to me. All right. Yeah, I'm like, the blanket is here, but I've got everything shimmed up these days so that I can make it through the hour. You know, I was really touched by your story, Jenny, and in a couple of ways. And I'm working with this book, The Wisdom of St. Patrick. And so there's various aspects of life of which I picked vocation that I was going to share tonight. And so they're readings from Patrick's own readings. But he covers things like humility, imperfection, sacrifice, prayer, and grief. And so I was going to see, well, maybe I can switch over to grief. But then as you continued on, I thought, well, vocation sort of fits because you found a calling through this, horrible, tragic event. So maybe it was Sue who led you to heaven, right? Because what we know today is that heaven and hell are states of consciousness, right? And so, yeah. Thank you. I never thought of it quite this way. Well, thank Patrick. He's the one who put it in my head. So, and we have a wonderful, so this Sunday, we have a fiddler coming in along with Reverend Karen Mitchell. She'll be doing the message and the music. And they have a second home now in county, I think they're in Wexford, might be Wicklow, but south of Dublin. And so they'll be coming in on Sunday, and then we have our general meeting. And then Teresa James is playing at Ireland's 32 on Sunday night. So if you haven't had enough Irish, you can go down there and get a Sink the Black, have a pint of Guinness or Harp. The thing that's great about Ireland's 32, so I'm just going to tell you, as a connoisseur of Guinness, so here's the great thing about the 32. So first of all, there's a lot of Irishmen who go there. So the Guinness doesn't sit too long. And in America, it tends to be overly carbonated. But they, because the turnover is high, they pour a good pint. And so if you want to have an authentic pint or half pint, Ireland's 32, or Tommy Bergen's if you're down that way, or Molly.
Pour a big pint. It's one you need a restaurant in.
Do you know in Ireland they used to, doctors used to prescribe a half pint of Guinness for nursing mothers because it's very high in iron.
Oh, is that
Right. And no wonder there's a country of drunks, right? Anyway, so enough of that. There'll be enough time for Irish blather. We have a few more days before the holy day of obligation. And so this inspiration is entitled Vocation. And this is going to be a little long, but it's got some good stuff in it. And so he's talking about when he was captured. So the story of St. Patrick was that he was actually a Briton who was taken captive to Ireland, and he was a shepherd, swineherd, for about 6 or 7 years, and then managed to escape. And so this is referencing that part of his story. And he writes that, yet again, many years later, I was taken captive. So on that first night, I stayed with them. I heard a divine messenger saying to me, you will be with them for 2 months more. And it happened that on the 60th night after that vision, the Lord delivered me from their hands. And again, after a few years, I returned to Britain to be with my kinfolk who had received me as their long-lost son, and pleaded with me that now at last, having suffered such difficulties, I should promise them not to go away again. And there one night I saw a vision of a man whose name was Victoricus, coming, it seemed, from Ireland with countless letters. He gave me one of them, and I read the first words of the letter, which were, the voice of the Irish. And as I read aloud the beginning of the letter, I imagined that at that same moment I heard their voices. They were those very people who lived hard by the wood of Falkland, which lies near the western sea. And thus did they cry out as one, we ask you, holy boy, come back and walk among us once more. I was quite broken-hearted and could read no more. And so I woke up, and thanks be to God, after many years the Lord granted to them their desire according to their prayer. And on another night, whether within me or beside me, I know not, only God knows, They, the Irish, called out to me most unmistakably with words that I had heard, but could not quite understand, except at the end of the prayer he spoke thus: "He who has laid down his own life for you, it is he who speaks to you." And I awoke full of joy. So there can be no doubt of Patrick's utter commitment, physically, mentally, spiritually, to his vocation, to his calling, not only as a priest and then a bishop, but specifically to the Irish community whom had enslaved him. More perhaps than any of us alive, he lived in absolute certainty of his purpose. He was crystal clear and unequivocal about his mission. Still, he lived with the knowledge of his apostleship for perhaps 2 decades or more before he was actually called to service by the church. And then it goes on to talk about, his approach to things, which would be, a 6th century understanding of Christianity, which in those days, of course, would have been, what was to become Catholicism. The author writes, Patrick is called to his vocation by visions and voices. This theme runs through the Confession, which was his writings. He saw a vision of Victoricus, who carried letters of the Irish. Then he heard voices. One of the most moving moments is the next passage, that I imagine that in the same moment I heard their voices. And Patrick himself was quite moved, quite brokenhearted. So Patrick was a bona fide mystic, but it's not very often that one makes a useful career of that talent. I think it's a great line. Instead, his calling was put to his mysticism, his faith in the voice of God spoken through messengers sent directly to them to work in the world among the Irish Christians. With both feet firmly planted on the earth, his heart and mind soared to the heavens. And Patrick was a corruptible man of the flesh who strove to live for a higher purpose. And sometimes he may not have understood exactly what that purpose was. Sometimes he may have obtained that deep intuitive knowledge and has been as certain as any human being can be. It can be said that Patrick followed the rough, mysterious course laid out for him and did it without complaint. So even without knowing, as none of us know, what lay ahead on his soul mission, Patrick accepted the job with enthusiasm. And so in this way, we're all called to be Patrick in our own life, right? So we see there are many stories of visions, of visitations. People very much believed in ghosts up until, well, some today still, but the 19th century, and of course, it was in 63 with John the 23rd, they renamed the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit. So there has been, in other words, we were very much aware of this connection with the other world, and I think it's one of the things that one of the effects of the Enlightenment period is there's been a lot of mystery stripped away, and of course mysticism is rooted in mystery, right? And so I think for us as modern people, it takes a huge commitment for us to unplug enough, for most people to unplug enough to have those kinds of experiences. But I think even for ancient peoples, it wasn't particularly interested, or it wasn't particularly easy then either, right? So, you know, because otherwise we would have millions of saints, and instead we have, you know, between all the faith systems, maybe thousands, right? So for me, and what I've discovered here in this teaching, however, is that that each one of us, within our own understanding of our and our own exploration and our own experimentation and our own results of our own spiritual curiosity, that we have the possibility of moving into a mystic experience as defined by ourselves. So we don't have to be Mother Teresa. We don't have to have a burning bush, biblical. Gabriel doesn't need to visit us with a flaming sword. But we do need to find ways to make time to allow the Spirit to speak to us in the ways that we are most accessible. So, these things still happen today. Was it Medjugorje, in Sarajevo, somewhere outside of Sarajevo, some children saw an apparition of the Blessed Virgin, right, in the Catholic. That was just in the 80s or 90s. So people still claim to have these mystic visions. And I'm agnostic about such things, which means only to say that I don't know, because I don't have direct experience. But for those who've had them, they believe it, right? So, something to ponder. So for our meditation tonight, maybe we can just work on opening up to whatever that calling is within us, right? To see if there is, or maybe even to set the stage for where we too can have our own visitation by Victoricus to present whatever messages that the Spirit may want to present us with in our own sleep cycle. So let's just start by taking a deep conscious breath and exhale. And maybe even imagine cool air, blue skies, emerald green hills. The sound of Julian pipes on the air. Of a beautiful Celtic melody. Carrying our heart, our mind, our breath to that deep place within, place of serenity, of peace and harmony. As we follow the breath, and release. On each exhale, let's allow the shoulders to drop. So as we begin the body scan in this meditation, starting from the bottom of the feet and simultaneously staying with the breath. If we find places of tension, we can just take a deep breath. Feel the exhale and feel the tension unwind. And maybe it'll take another breath. We feel the tension unwinding as we move up the legs. Following the breath. Bringing our attention to the sit bones and a spine that is erect, shoulders back and free of tension, head balanced on the spine. So in this position, then, we can stay awake and aware and breathe. Tummy rises and falls. Let's take a deep breath and just let the shoulders drop a wee bit more. Taking a deep breath and release. Soft hands, soft arms. Bringing our attention to the space between the shoulder blades. Releasing up the spine. Soft face. Let's take a breath here, and on the exhale, just allow the face to drop. Release. On each exhale, just let the face release. Bring our attention to the space between the eyeballs, the eyebrows. Third eye. We may feel a sense of tingling there or on the crown of the head. hold it at the top, and then we'll release as we move into the silence for about 15 minutes or so. So taking a deep breath. Release as we move into the silence now. attention gently back into the room, staying with the breath. Breathing into our heart center. Where the flame of the divine resides. So that with each in-breath, we're fanning that flame. Flame that grows in radiance and brightness. Extending to beautiful, radiant ball of light in our heart center. Continuing to breathe into the heart. And this ball of light, this sacred fire within, illuminating, radiating, energizing our heart center, growing with each in-breath, expanding, contracting with the ebb and flow, like the water's edge at the sea. Extending now beyond the body, torso, side to side, front to back, top to bottom, that we're now sitting in this field of love, this energetic of light and love. Staying with the breath, extending now beyond the reach of our fingertips, sitting in this globe of a field of light and love. Staying with the breath, breathing in the light, exhaling the light. There's an energetic exchange, fortifying every aspect of the biological body in this field that continues to extend out, enlivening the very room in which we are sitting. Extending this field of light and love, now extending beyond time and space, connecting with our friends joining us online presently. And as the Spirit is not bound by time nor space, extending and connecting even with those sharing this meditation with us later. Staying with the breath, feeling the expansion of it all, letting our shoulders rotate back, feeling the open-heartedness within the body. Staying with the breath as we know that energetically, with each breath, that we are fortifying the body temple at the smallest aspects of existence. That there is no spot where God is not. So the smallest quart, smallest particle, every atom has spirit in it, so that every atom, every molecule, every cell, every organ, every muscle, every bone, all the various connective tissues, every neuron, all the various components of the biologic system are now aligning with and expressing as a pattern of perfection, expressing as radiant good health. That we know that in this moment that the crooked ways are made straight, that there's a perfect function of lung and heart, of circulatory system and nervous system, that all of it in this sacred alignment with the pattern of perfection, with the indwelling spirit within, that there is an expression of radiant good health in this moment that we carry with us into the moments yet to come. So we take a deep breath and release. We know for our mind that we are open, receptive to new, creative, dynamic ideas that have within them the solution to any seeming challenge or problem, any sense of that moves out of confusion into clarity, that we are intuitively opening up now and embracing ways of seeing the world that up until now may have had us stymied, confused, or feeling a little fuzzy. We know that deeply instilled within us now is a seed thought for a new idea, a mystic inclination placed by the creative impulse of life itself, expressing as itself by means of our own mental activity. And so in confidence, we're just allowing it to nest itself within us, to gestate for its release of this idea, whether in the moment, in the dream state, or through the working day, or through the next few days. We take a deep breath and just release in confidence, knowing that is done. So that finally that the heart center is open in its connection to those whom we hold most dear within our intimate life, with those within our working life, with those with whom we appear to be in discord with, for we understand that they too are awakening to their own understanding of the Most High. And so we, through the heart then, we are calling forth in this field of light and love that there is a resonance of harmony, of peaceful abiding, of serenity, where people of opposing views, the vibration aligns, not necessarily to be like-minded, but certainly to be like-hearted. So we breathe into that, release. So finally, for our own cares, specific cares, concerns, inspirations, aspirations, I speak into this field too, the knowing the right and perfect healing for our friend Paul Braden, for young Nathan Munoz, Marty Laff, and for whomever else, or Kitty, or Brenda, Reverend Nancy's sister, and for Reverend Nancy's swift and safe return. And raising in love on this birthday, our Reverend Dr. Maureen. So taking a deep breath, along with your own cares, concerns, inspirations, aspirations, feel the release of all of it as we're releasing all the feelings, the words, to that aspect of the mind, of the divine itself, that knows only to say yes as the law of its own being. We release it now. Let it go. Let it be so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So thank you for joining us tonight. Don't forget the general meeting. Oh, I forgot to tell you, there's going to be food. That always brings the crowd in. And did I say there's going to be a fiddler? So, no, in the room. So until then, if this is your first time joining us, just hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll get a reminder for when we live stream on Sunday at 10:25. Come in, see your friends, or come in and join us here at 9 or 10:30 this Sunday. Until then, know that you're loved. Peace and blessings. We'll see you next time.